Time. We experience it as a straight line, moving forward, second by second, moment by moment. But for some people, time doesn't behave the way it should. There are rare cases where individuals claim they suddenly stepped into another decade, saw places that no longer exist, or found themselves surrounded by people who shouldn't be there. These are not random stories posted online. Many come from police officers, academics, travelers, or entire groups who reported the same event. Today, we're taking a deeper look at 5 extended time slip cases that scientists still can't explain. And after hearing these, you might question how stable time really is. Bold Street in Liverpool is known for strange events, so many in fact, that locals sometimes call it the time slip hotspot. One of the most famous cases involves a police officer walking toward a bookstore. The moment he stepped off the curb, the atmosphere changed. The street went quiet, too quiet. Shops around him looked older. Cars were rounded, 1960s style models. Even the smell in the air felt different, like old fabric and cigarette smoke. He passed a bakery that hasn't existed since 1974. And inside a clothing shop, mannequins wore outdated fashion that matched archived photos from decades earlier. What makes this case disturbing is not just his testimony, but the number of other people who have reported the same thing on the same street. Some claim they walked through invisible pockets, tiny zones where time didn't match the present. To this day, no scientific explanation has been confirmed. A woman living in Manhattan was on her usual route to work when she felt a strange pressure in her ears, like altitude sickness but on flat ground. The city around her slowly faded into a muted, quieter version of itself. The bright billboards disappeared. The modern shops were gone, replaced by storefronts she had never seen before. Cars passing by were unmistakably from the 1950s. Polished chrome, boxy shapes, white wall tires. What frightened her most wasn't the visual shift, but the people. They walked past her without acknowledging her at all, as if they couldn't see her. She tried to speak to someone, but her voice felt muffled, like talking underwater. Then, suddenly, a rush of sound. Horns, chatter, footsteps. She blinked and found herself back in modern-day Manhattan, standing in the exact same spot. Doctors ran neurological tests, sleep studies, and psychiatric evaluations. Everything came back normal, but she insists what she experienced lasted far longer than the few seconds her phone recorded. A British couple driving through rural France was searching for a place to stay the night. They spotted an old-fashioned hotel with wooden shutters, vintage signage, and staff dressed in clothing that looked straight out of the early 1900s. Inside, everything seemed old, but not in a decayed way, more like stepping back into a preserved snapshot of a past century. They paid with francs, not euros, because the staff didn't accept modern currency. The next morning they left. But when they tried to stay there again on their return trip, the hotel was gone. Locals insisted no such hotel had existed in over 90 years. The couple still had photos of the area, but not of the hotel interior. And strangely, the photos they took outside had a faint sepia tint, despite their camera being digital. To this day, researchers argue whether the couple stumbled onto a piece of preserved history or slipped into a moment that no longer exists. A man driving alone on a highway late at night noticed the road ahead shimmering, almost like heat haze. When he passed through it, everything changed. Streetlights disappeared. The asphalt turned into a rough, narrow road. The painted lines on the pavement were different, and signs were in an outdated style. Cars approaching him were classic 1970s sedans, visibly worn, but moving as if they belonged to the present. His own radio shifted to an old broadcast, a weather report from 1976, a commercial for a brand that shut down decades ago. He drove in panic, trying to turn around, but a few seconds later, a flash of white light hit his windshield, and he was back on the modern highway. His GPS showed a 3-minute gap where no data was recorded. Researchers called it a glitch. He called it something else, a hole in time. Two young men riding motorcycles in northern Chile entered a thick, low-lying fog at sunset. Visibility dropped instantly. They kept accelerating forward for what felt like 15 to 20 seconds. But when they exited the fog, the sun was suddenly much lower on the horizon, almost nightfall. Their phones, clocks, and bike sensors showed exactly 2 hours had passed. Worse, security cameras positioned along the highway recorded them entering the area, but never exiting. There is a 2-hour gap where the riders simply don't appear on any footage. A government investigator reviewed the case and admitted the records did not align with known physical explanations. To this day, the riders maintain they were inside the fog for less than half a minute. Time slips remain one of the most unsettling mysteries. They challenge our understanding of physics, memory, and even reality itself. Whether they're glitches, hallucinations, interdimensional overlaps, or moments where past and present collide, we still don't have a clear answer. Which one do you think is the most believable? Tell me in the comments. I read all of them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into unexplained events, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories just like this. Until then, stay curious.